All right, good morning. And Amosa, who are we talking to today?
Jocelyn.
I don't see a Jesselyn. Anybody there, Anamosa? Anamosa, are you guys there today? We're here when you're ready.
This is Tracy. I'm here. I'll call down and see where they're at.
You appreciate it. All right, Sharon, are you there? Not there.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you.
1 second. There we go.
There you are. All
Good morning.
right. Good morning. Do you have Mr. Hall this morning?
No, I am actually the second one. I'm with Mr. Bruce. So
All
I'm
right,
just,
do we know if Jesselyn's gonna join us this morning or we don't know?
I believe we are still looking into that.
Okay.
So
Do we
anyways,
want,
in two different locations right now, so I'm just logged on waiting for my turn. So I'll try to see if I can snag her, find if she's logged on yet.
okay, we can move forward if we need to. So just tell us if you, a couple minutes, if you don't hear anything, we can move to Mr. Bruce.
Yep, 1 second then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Later. Okay, I'm up. Yeah. Hi, I have Lane Hall outside my door. Are you ready for him?
Well, just a second. So are you logged in twice? Because we have an echo.
Jocelyn, can you say something else?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us? I don't think she can hear. Same, Joshua?
Josh, if you're
Yes.
still around, could we go ahead and just do yours and then if someone could help Jesselyn get her.
So here's what needs to happen. So, the second Sharon one needs to log out so that Jesselyn can go.
Okay. So Josh, did you hear that?
Yep.
So
I'll-
Josh, you guys need to log off while she goes, since she's at a different location. And then when she's done, then you guys can log on.
Okay.
So
I'll log out.
I'll radio you to when you need to log on.
All right. Thank you.
All right. There's still a weird sound.
All right,
Jesselyn,
Jessel.
can you hear us?
I don't think so.
Jesselyn, can you hear us? Jesselyn? This is Tracy. Yeah, why don't you come up to social services with your guy and we'll just do it from up there. Okay. I will have Josh log on and she's going to come up to social services to the other computer.
Okay,
Okay. Deech to Deshaw, go ahead and log on and we'll do all of.
all right, Josh, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, go ahead. Susie's got you.
Hi, Josh. How are you this morning?
Morning. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. It looks like we're gonna be talking to Mr. Bruce. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything new since you submitted his evaluation?
No, everything should be as is. He's still planning on going to his ex-wife in Cedar Rapids. He's got a job lined up with Nest Flooring with a letter of employment recommendation as well. He's been doing well at the power plant as well as SIP watch. So he's still sitting pretty solid.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
I did not.
Let's go ahead and bring him in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce? I feel that chair.
Good morning, Mr. Bruce.
Good morning.
Would you please share your name and number with us?
Yes, my name is Ronald Bruce, number 6764823.
Thank you, sir. So we'll let you know this is a three-member panel of the Iowa Board of Parole. Joining me today is Renee Schulte and Jesse Rincon. My name is Susie Weinock. We're in a public forum. That means that the public and the media can be listening to us today, but they're unable to participate. I want to let you know that during the course of this interview, it's possible that we're going to be talking about personal and confidential information that includes, but isn't necessarily limited to, your medical history, your mental health history, your treatment history, or other confidential information. Do you understand?
Yes,
Okay, and do you wish to continue?
Yes.
All right. I want to explain to you how this process is going to work. We want you to be as calm as possible. So hopefully this will help relieve any jitters that you have.
Okay.
So the three of us may each have questions for you. Once we've asked the questions, I'm going to come to you and ask you, Mr. Bruce, is there anything further you'd like for us to know today? Have you prepared anything you want to share with us? It'll be your time. Okay. Once you've done that, then we're going to go into deliberation where you're going to be able to see us and hear us, but it won't be a time for you to participate. Once we have the decision, I'll come back to you, deliver the decision to you, and that'll conclude today's interview. Okay. So why don't you talk to us about what brought you in to prison in December of 23?
What brought me in is, I got into a car accident and I accidentally hurt a good friend of mine. And, I, was speeding in a vehicle late at night, went out, had a few drinks and things like that. And also, the actions I did beyond the accident, with the accident definitely brought me in here. And I also said some things that, kind of involved my daughter, such as, trying to have her assist me and, possibly, saying that she was driving, and I don't know why I thought that. At the time, I definitely wasn't thinking, and, definitely wasn't a good, choice to do, reflecting back. And I hurt my friend pretty bad, and that's, another reason why I'm here. And yeah, it's not good.
Okay, why don't you talk to us about your substance abuse?
Such as, can you elaborate? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just tell us anything about that. When did you start drinking? What all have you done? Have you been involved with other illegal substances?
No, I mean, it's such as like drinking, I would go out on occasion and things like that. I traveled for work a lot and whatnot. On occasion, and, I did get in trouble a while back, for drunk driving, but, I thought that, I had it under control and was making, better choices with drinking, and, I was doing better, and it was just the speeding, and in fact that, was a serious cause of the situation. Yeah,
Were you drinking at the time of this accident?
I did have a few drinks, yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I did blow under the legal limit, but still that doesn't, there's no excuse for even drinking and getting in a vehicle. I understand that. So, I mean,
Thank you for answering my question. I'm going to go to my colleagues next. Jesse, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So you left the scene of the crime, correct?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, yes, technically, there was beer bottles in the vehicle, and I had threw them up in the field, and why we were at, and I made a phone call, and I did come back, but it's still, yeah, I left, and I should have handled the situation a lot better by staying with Garrett and making more caring more about him instead of worrying about some stupid beer bottles that were in the car, and caring about his aid instead. So yeah, yes, I technically went up the hill a little bit to answer your question. Yes.
Thank you. So what thoughts do you deal with after this incident? What thoughts do you deal with daily that seem to maybe haunt you, or maybe that you want to change?
Well, such as thoughts, I feel horrible that I handled the situation that I did. I don't I don't know why I handled it that way at the moment. I regret everything, you know, how I handled it. That's the biggest thing, and especially hurting Garrett. He's a really good friend of mine, and I, you know, didn't show that I really loved him and cared for him as much as our friendship should have been. This definitely been tough. Mostly, I've thought about him a lot every day, and you know, I wish I could fix him, and I can't. You know, unfortunately, with his condition, and I'm aware of that, and the whole accident and how I handled it didn't show my character. I love helping people, and you know, I'd do anything for, you know, good people and things like that. It's been a quite a tough journey to just sit here in a hole and just have a lot of time to reflect and think about him and you know, a lot of and others that I've heard, such as you know, his family now has to help and take care of him, and I hope to maybe eventually at his discretion, you know, talk to him and try to help him and physically, mentally, and even eventually, possibly financially when I'm able to. And you know, I thank his family for helping him and taking care of him and things like that. You know, I haven't been able to be any part of that from our unfortunate situation, that's for sure. I would love to help, you know, and in some way when I'm able to, like I said, at his discretion and legally.
Okay, thank you. So, besides your OWI in the past, do you have any other extensive criminal history?
No, not at all.
And that's what I thought. So I want to leave you with a positive note. I understand that you work, correct?
Yeah, such as like, you mean like in here or like?
Yes. Yes, inside.
Yeah, I got 3 jobs in here.
Okay.
I do SSIP, that's a really nice one that I enjoy. You know, like I said, I am a caring person. I do like helping people in many different ways. There's a small thing with SSIP that you know, touches my heart. It's a family member that, you know, has had some things going on and whatnot. That's actually one of my daughters that it touches me in a small piece. It is tough. It is 3rd shift and it's quite of a battle. And also there's been many times where I've waken up, you know, 3rd shift and gone to work all night. And then also I have gone in the 1st shift by working at the powerhouse here. I do a lot of landscaping and things like that outside the walls every day during the week. And then every night, after everybody's kind of calmed down a little bit, I clean the 4th floor of the unit that I live in.
I want to read you a comment from the power plant engineer. It said, Bruce is a great worker. He's one of the better ones that's come through there. Bruce has, isn't one that needs to be stood over and wants to stay busy. Bruce is self-sufficient, reliable, trustworthy, and he doesn't need to be pushed. And when he completes a task, he's always looking for more to do. That's a credit to you. So I just want to say congratulations on that positive note. I know some of these questions are hard to talk about, but I appreciate the answers you did give me. Thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Renee. Do you have any questions?
I do. Hi, Mr. Bruce. How are you today?
Pretty nervous and, you know, but I'm doing all right though.
Yeah. So my background's in mental health, and it looks like you've had some challenges with your mental health in the past. How would you say you're feeling and doing today?
I mean, such as how I'm feeling, I'm overwhelmed a little bit with a lot of things going on, such as I'm not able to, you know, reach out to the people that I'd love to reach out to, and the whole prison situation, you know, it's definitely tough to, you know, just to be behind the bars and things like that, and not being able to help everybody out in the world like I always have, and really overwhelmed me. Really, that's kind of where I can, you know, stop at that point. Really, I feel that you know, horrible situation that I got myself into. And I, you know, eventually can't wait to, you know, get out when I can and get back to, you know, the ones I love and doing what I can to help everybody that I impacted on my situation, because that eats at me every day. So.
Yeah. Okay. So would you be interested in maybe having some support in the mental health space to talk to people about how you're feeling? Would that be helpful to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that definitely wouldn't hurt anybody, obviously.
Uh-huh.
Would be interested in that. And then, you know, another thing that I would be interested in, but I don't have the resources in here. I've talked with my counselor and stuff like that, talking about, you know, reaching out to programs and things to talk about what happened to me and, you know, the things that I did that I want to try to maybe reach out to maybe a small group of people on randomly, you know, people that I might not even know, to try to avoid the situation that I got myself into.
Yeah.
I think that would honestly help me.
Yes.
I know it won't help Garrett, but it would help a lot of other people, and I'm gonna do what I can to definitely help him, because I love him and I miss him, and I feel really bad that, you know, I hurt him.
Yeah. So I can hear a lot of grief in your voice and a lot of sadness. And so it might be really helpful to you to talk to somebody about that. And you're right, to be able to advocate for yourself and telling others what you've done would be a great way to give back. Even though you can't change the situation, you might be able to prevent this from happening for other people. And that really would be a great way to find purpose in this bad situation. So,
Yeah, I mean,
right. Well, I appreciate
like
the
I
fact
said-
that you might want help. That's good. Go ahead.
like I said, you know, I can't change what I did, but I'm just hoping that from here on out, I can, you know, touch many other hearts and just, you know, elaborate on that, just try to go up from here, you know. And
Yeah, well, I appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much. I agree with you. I think that's a really great plan. So thank you for answering my question.
do it.
Mr. Bruce, I just have some follow-up. Would you consider attending AA as pro-social support?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, do you consider yourself an alcoholic?
I mean, I don't believe like, there's definitely a wide brand, you know, broad of alcohol, you know, alcoholic, I guess. I don't know if I consider myself as an alcoholic, but you know, at times I believe there's been situations in life where I have drinking more than other times. So I don't know if I can fully answer you to say I'm an alcoholic, but to answer your question, I would, you know, continue to, you know, explore options for AA, because being in here, obviously haven't had any opportunity or any type of thing, you know, ways to drink, and I feel great. Really, I have a clear mind. Wake up every day feeling good, and you know, such as physically and whatnot. And I don't have the things that I do remember that while drinking at certain times would affect me, you know. So I feel better not drinking, and I definitely plan on, you know, continuing the process of not drinking anymore. So yeah, I would definitely explore those options. I feel confident that from this tragedy that I owe it to Garrett, myself, and my family that I'm not going to drink anymore. So.
Right. Well, I appreciate your answer, because I'm looking back over time, and you told my colleague that, you know, you just basically had an OWI, but I was looking back over your history, and it looks like there's more than an OWI there.
Yeah, I mean, driving infractions, you know, like speeding tickets and things like that. You know, some excessive ones and things. I wasn't exactly 100% sure exactly, you know, everything what he was like talking about. I thought he only asked a few questions, so maybe it since you're elaborating, like, yeah, I mean, I had some speeding tickets and, you know, there at one point, there was a small conflict about, you know, with me and my ex-wife years ago. And it was, you know, basically it was like a domestic, but it didn't really go that way. I didn't know, I didn't think that was on my record at first, but it was drop charge because there wasn't proof of that, but, so yeah, I mean, that would, I guess, to elaborate on, you know, what he has, that would be, I guess, a few more little things, yes.
Are you referring to the assault in 2009?
2009, yeah.
Is that the one we're talking about where you
Yeah,
got
I
information?
mean,
Okay,
I thought that was a drop charge. I didn't know that that was on there because it didn't come up that way. It didn't come up as, you know, I didn't think that they put that against me, honestly. So I do apologize if you think I tried keeping that out. I didn't try keeping it out. I mean, I just wasn't sure how elaborate you wanted me to go about it.
all right. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to see if my colleagues have any other questions.
I have one. So what's your relationship with your ex?
We are currently together still, and it was just we're doing really well. I've talking to her every day. You know, I believe she still expresses a lot of love for me, and you know, we have a pretty strong relationship. So you know, it seems to be going pretty good, really.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
All right, thank you. So Mr. Bruce, now's the time that I'm coming to you. That opportunity you said that we give you to share anything further you'd like for us to know. It's your time.
I definitely want to, you know, apologize to everybody that affected and for my actions, especially Garrett and my daughter. And I just want to thank his family for taking good care of him, and thank Nicole for taking care of the family since I've been in here. And, you know, I'm definitely eager to get out there and do my part and do what I can to help everybody and just kind of go from there, really.
All right, thank you. So now we're going to go into deliberation. You'll be able to see us and hear us, but it won't be a time to participate. Once we have a decision, I'll come back, I'll deliver it to you, answer any questions you might have, and then that'll conclude our interview. All right, colleagues?
I can go. I think you had a really good interview. I can see that staying busy for him is a big thing. He stayed busy within the walls and he's done a lot of good things. He's had a lot of good comments, positive, generic notes, all that stuff that goes with it. I can see the remorse in his face. So I am in agreement with the DOC recommendation to parole to his ex-wife's house. I would be a PGD3 with the 40A for substance abuse, mental health. He does not take medication, I believe, and I'd put the 20B on there as well.
All right, thank you, Jesse.
50, I'm sorry.
And 58, gotcha. Thanks, Renee.
Yep, I thought this was a good interview. You can see his remorse and feel his pain. I think the mental health counseling is going to be really critical for him to help him move forward. So I'd be in agreement with the recommendation. I don't know if a 20B is necessary, but I'm open to that discussion.
I'll go ahead and agree with the department's recommendation. I'm fine with the 20B considering the history that we have. The 50A I think is appropriate, 40A, substance abuse, mental health, definitely appropriate. I wanted to have a discussion about what Jesse said. I hadn't thought about it until he brought it up, but that he needs to stay busy. So I'm wondering about some community service.
I can do 40 hours. This would be doable.
I have no problems with that.
40 hours, you said, Jesse?
That works usually easiest.
Okay. All right. So if we're in agreement, I'll deliver the decision.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Bruce, you were able to hear our conversation We appreciated the discussion we had with you today. We're going to support the department's recommendation. PGD3 means that we're moving you forward to parole to your ex wife. I think that is who it is. Yes. You're in a relationship with at this time. In addition, the 20B means that there'll be no early discharge of this sentence. You will remain on paper until March 7th of 2026. In addition, there will be a 40A, and that means that we're looking at you to be engaged in substance abuse evaluation, get a baseline. That would be fair. Gives you a good solid place to start. We had a little bit of conversation about it, but we think an expert in the room with you is a good idea. Also, mental health. We talked about grieving and what has happened and the remorse that you've shown. We think it's appropriate that you have someone to work through this with once you move forward in this transitional space on parole. In addition, a 50A means it's an alcohol prohibition. You're not to enter any type of liquor store or any type of like neighborhood bar. In other words, anywhere that's primary activity is the sale of alcohol. Does that make sense? And then we think that my colleague brought up, staying busy. You've got some great recommendations from the people that you've worked with while you've been inside the prison. And we think that staying busy is probably also key in addition to your mental health and substance abuse. So we'd like for you to perform 40 hours of community service. In reference to that, we don't know where that will be or when it will be. That's something that you'll work out with your PO. Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, one question, like you said, the sale of alcohol, so like you talking like any like Olive Garden, let's say, you know?
No.
Okay.
So like a neighborhood bar where it's just a bar and maybe, that's their biggest sale is alcohol.
Okay. So yeah, I was thinking like restaurants or something.
Yeah, no, and it's a good question. And that's something that you can explore more when you're also given your standard conditions of parole.
Okay.
These are in addition to, and that's a good time to really delve in depth conversation that you're asking about. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right. We wish you all the best.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jesselyn, are we around now?
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear us? Okay,
I can. Can you hear me okay?
wonderful, fantastic. All right, is there anything different about Mr. Hall that maybe wasn't in his paperwork when you submitted it? Anything you want us to know?
He did receive a major report or a minor report yesterday, but he is taking full responsibility for that. So I was kind of happy to hear that he was accepting responsibility and applauded him for that. He isn't trying to fight it or anything. He just said, it is what it is. I did it. I'll take my consequences. So
Okay,
but we are still in support of a release.
okay. Colleagues, did either of you have a question?
What was the report for?
He was loitering outside his unit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Questions?
No, I don't think.
All right, you can go ahead and bring him in.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Hall. Can you give us your full name and your ID number, please?
Lane Michael Hall, 675-8510.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna explain today how this is all gonna go, but before we get started, I have a little bit of an announcement. So with this is the 3-member panel of the Board of Parole that you see in front of you today. You'll see to my side here is Susie Wynot, myself, Renee Schulte, and this is Jesse Rinkin. And before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a public forum in that people listening on the Zoom, they can be listening, but they're not going to participate. But also, we want to remind you that you might be talking about some confidential information and just want to make sure that that's okay with you. Things like your medical history, treatment history, mental health history, things of that nature. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you wish to continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. So how this works is the three of us ask you questions, and then we just ask you to do your best and answer what we're asking. After that, we turn it over to you. If there's anything you want to tell us, anything we didn't ask you want us to know, the floor will be yours. Then we go into what we call deliberation, which is we're going to sit and talk about the decision we're going to make today. You'll be able to see us and hear us for that part. And at the end, I come back and tell you what we're going to decide. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So to get us started, first you need to take a deep breath. You're a little nervous. There you go.
Terrified.
I know. Don't be terrified. We're not that scary. Okay. Take a deep breath and then tell us what happened on the day of the crime that brought you into prison.
Okay. Well, my ex-girlfriend, we had an incident, and just the honest, raw truth of it is I broke the window out of the car and we got an altercation through the window of the car. And then I left the scene, her residence, and that was the end of it.
Okay. Have you had issues with her before?
Yes, ma'am. Like
Okay.
as far as legal issues or as far as like just,
Just fights in general, not getting along.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what was going on in your life at the time of all of this? Were you using alcohol, drugs? What's going on?
Well, heck, ma'am. My life was in shambles. I came home on parole from doing being incarcerated the first time. Came home, everything went down. Everything was fine at first, and then went downhill. I had parole violations. I had warrants. More or less, I was waiting to come back to prison, ma'am. It's just whenever they caught me, and I would be on my way back. So, to just be all the way honest, ma'am, my life was a mess. So I was drinking, I was smoking, I was pills. Hell, my life was a mess. So
Okay. So when you left the first time, what wasn't set up correctly so that you went straight to a mess? What happened?
So when I first came home last time, I got a job, got a vehicle, got my license, insurance on my vehicle. Everything was doing what I was supposed to do, other than I had a 9 o'clock curfew and I had paroled to my grandmother's address. Well, if I had started drinking, I knew that HRU would breathalyze me every time they showed up at the house. So if I started drinking, my mentality was, well, if they come to the door, I'm not going to answer the door anyways because I'm not going to be able to pass a breathalyzer. So I just wouldn't come home. My grandmother, she's not going to allow me to throw my life away and just sit back and just be okay with it. So she told me either get my life together or move out. Being more or less the child that I was, instead of saying, okay, you're right, let me get my head back on my shoulders, I didn't argue with her and I just moved out. And I knew once I told my PO that I didn't live with my grandmother no more, I was coming back to prison regardless. So I just quit showing up to my PO, and one thing led to another.
Okay. All right. I'm going to come back to questions in a minute, but in the meantime, I'm going to ask my colleague Jesse if you have some questions.
I do. Hello, Mr. Hall. I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
Right. So you know that you are validated as a fry, correct?
Yes, sir.
And word on the street is you run the yard out there. And my background is gang affiliation stuff, all that good stuff. Who are you under, Pinnaker or do you with?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your current status with that? I know how'd you make that clear to the yard?
I told them going home with my kids mean more than anything. So as far as gang wise, if family really matters and it's family first, and if they really follow that, then it's all family. It's not just some people that I met in prison. My kids come before anything.
That's probably one of the best answers I've heard for the sixes. That's probably one of the best answers I heard. You're right. If it is about family, then it should extend to that, right?
Yes, sir.
And I really hope that your involvement is what you say it is now at this point, because nothing will change, my friend, unless you detach from that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got an escape at the residential facility, so why should we give you another chance? You really got to tell me why. What's different to go forward?
To be all the way honest, sir, I didn't respect life. I didn't respect human life. I didn't respect myself as a human, as a man. And quite frankly, I was a child. I didn't care about nobody but myself. Hell, I didn't even care about myself, to be quite frank. And since I've been back this prison bid, I've lost my granny, I've lost my aunt, I've lost two of my granddaddies, I've lost my little brother. I've lost a lot of people in my life, and it's made me understand that tomorrow's not promised, man. Like, I'm over this. I want to go home. I have kids. Like, it's time to grow up.
You know, I hope you never lose this feeling that you have right now to be motivated. I need to know if prison's a revolving door for you, or if you're done, or do you how have you prepared yourself to stay out on parole? What's going to be different?
My kids, sir. I've built a relationship and I've got closer to my kids than I've ever been in my life with anybody. And I'm tired of my kids asking, Daddy, when are you coming home? Daddy, when is this going to be the last time?
Okay. It's okay. It really is.
I'm just tired, sir.
I understand. How old are your kids?
I have two 8-year-olds.
Are they twins?
No, sir.
Okay.
I have two 8-year-olds, a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
They're watching you, you know, they're watching to see what your next move is, because they're just hoping that you're just going to be there. If you understand that, you'll do well. I have no more questions for you, but just keep your mindset where it's at currently and don't forget that feeling.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Susie, did you have questions?
I do, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Hall.
Good morning, man.
Can you talk to us a little about what you've learned in treatment? So let's start with active. Can you talk to us about your takeaways from active?
More than anything, like I've talked to my counselor about, more than anything that I've learned from it is my main problem in life that I've always had is I get hooked by my thoughts. I get mad about something. I feel a certain type of way about something. And instead of just, okay, let me come back to this when I'm in a better state of mind to process it, I just react impulsively in that situation, and it's never ended good. So anytime I start to get in a situation, I process it for what it is, and then I leave it alone for a little bit so I can think about it and really understand the situation and come back to it when I'm in a better state of mind. Like, reality of it is, man, you can't change unless you find out what needs to be changed.
Yeah, you're willing to listen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Talk to us about Sarin guides and carry guides. What do you participate in those? What modules?
Explain modules. What do you mean by modules?
The packets.
Okay. Like, what did I get out of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which ones did you participate in? Like the anger one?
I did all 5, ma'am.
You did all of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what did you take away from those?
To be completely honest, ma'am, in my opinion, it's all the same stuff. It's just worded differently, so you might take it a different way. But in all honesty, it's all the same stuff. It's just learning it and processing it in a different wording or in a different way.
Okay.
So,
was that helpful?
yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So talk to us about what you do for a job.
I'm a barber, ma'am. A hell of a barber.
That's good that you think that. So do you have your own chair somewhere? What's your,
Yes, ma'am. People's Choice, when I came home last time, I was offered a job at People's Choice in Burlington, Iowa. And at that time, I wasn't where I wanted to be as far as skill level and with the Clippers. So I told them no, at this time, I don't want to come in and try to start a job that I'm not comfortable with. But where I'm at as of today, as far as my capabilities and my skills, as far as I'm aware, my wife had messaged the owner of the barbershop, and he says I still have a job if I still want it. So I can rent the chair out at 140 a week from him, and whatever I make after that's my paycheck. So that's honestly what I plan to do, ma'am.
so I guess we could say that you really want it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I have one more. So it looks as though you've gone back and forth with some mental health history. And where do you think you are today with your mental health?
I've grown up a lot. I've honestly, ma'am, I've grown up in a cell, and I'm tired. Mentally, I'm exhausted. I want to be home with my kids. I want to be home with my wife. I'm tired of growing up in a cell. Like everybody says that one prison bid, you have that and it breaks you. This one broke me. I don't want to do this no more.
So would you be interested in some support on the outside in that space to be able to talk to somebody about the adjustment from coming out of the cell into life and trying to help you bridge that gap this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it seems like that's something that you've got some loss and some grief in there that you probably need to talk about with some folks, because sounds like you lost a lot of family this time around. And it probably there's a lot of sadness in there that maybe you could talk to somebody. Am I wrong on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that'll probably be one of my recommendations. All right. So is there anything that you'd like to tell us? Now's the time. Is there anything you want us to know that maybe you didn't say, or something you wanted to think about we should know before we make a decision?
Honestly, ma'am, I, I thought about it for weeks on weeks and months, waiting for this day. And I've thought about, I could write this down, I could write that down and sit here and tell you guys what you want to hear. And I didn't write a single word down. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. And either you like it or you don't. And that's with no disrespect by any means. Just give you the raw truth. I want to be home with my wife and my kids. I'm tired. Like, just want to be home.
All right. Is there anything else you want us to know?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We'll sit back and take a deep breath. It's our turn to talk now. So we'll be right back with you. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Colleagues, thoughts?
Jesse? Yeah, sure. I think this is one of the better interviews that I've seen. I don't know if Mr. Hall knows this, but he has more of a chance than he knows. I think guys with worse history that done well and still are doing well to this day. So I think he's got a true chance if he remembers what he said and how he feels. So I am going to be in agreement with the DOC recommendation of releasing to work place in Burlington. That'd be I believe a PG D3, or did we have a work police?
It's a work release.
Okay, it could be a WRGC 11P with substance abuse. And I would recommend mental health just for what he's been through and to cope with things. Not that he's lacking, just as a tool, and the 50A as well.
Okay. Thank you. Susie, thoughts?
I'm going to support the department's recommendation. He's been through some really hard losses from what he shared with us. It's a lot of loss, big holes. And I can understand how he got to the point of where he says family is where it's at. I mean, it's really been a trying time for him besides being incarcerated. He has a job to go to. I was really stoked about him being excited about that job and having a plan. I think that's awesome. I really also appreciated the fact that he talked about active, and then he just talked about, it's the same stuff. It's just another way of telling me, and then went on to say, and I really appreciated it that way. So it tells me that he was engaged, and I thought that was great too. I think he made a choice, alcohol of freedom, when he came back to prison. And I think that he has made some mindset changes. And He's been back since 2021. I would do a WRGC 11P. I would be fine talking about the 20B in this instance. We're looking at domestic back in 20. We're looking at willful injury back in 15. There's some things here that throw a red flag up to me about him staying on paper for the duration. Mental health, for sure. We talked about all these losses. And then substance abuse. And I think DOC is asking for cognitive behavioral therapy and then a 50A. Thank you.
Jesse, what do you think about 20B?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, I'm in agreement, so I will deliver our decision. All right, so this was a really good interview. You did a really nice job. Coming and telling the truth is always the best way. So thank you for doing that. We heard you talk about your excitement in your job. We talked about your 5 kids and how excited you are to get back to them. So we're going to move you forward today to a work release, and we're going to talk about codes. So in addition to the standard conditions of parole that you're aware of, there's a few extras. So the WRGC 11P means you're going to stay on paper. We're going to see you. The 20B means you're going to stay until your end date, which is August of 26. Doesn't mean you have to come back and talk to us. It just means that we're going to be tracking you and making sure you stay out of trouble. And then on the treatment codes, the 40A, we're going to ask you to continue your work in substance use and then get a mental health evaluation and some support in that space. And then your folks there at DOC thought cognitive is helpful to you. That's more like active, because you could tell you really got something out of that and they can see that that's helpful to you. So they're going to ask us to continue that. And then finally, there's a 50A, which is an alcohol prohibition. Shouldn't be drinking it, and you shouldn't be hanging out in places that primarily sells it, like liquor stores and bars. Restaurants that have it on tap is fine, but just make sure you're not in those liquor stores and just the bars. Okay. Any questions that you have for us?
The cognitive, is that another treatment in here that you're?
Nope. You would do it in the community. It's more like a group like you've done here, but it'd be on the outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That concludes your interview. Thank you. Go out and do well.
Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Wish
Have a
you
good
well,
day.
Mr. Hall. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning, Jake. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. We have Mr. Misner, correct?
Say that one more time.
Mr. Misner?
Yep.
Meisner?
Mr. Meisner. Yes.
Meisner, thank
Yep.
you. Appreciate that. Is there anything new from the evaluation you submitted that we need to know?
So have you taken a look at his last year assessment?
Not
Okay,
recently.
so Mr. Meisner, as I'm sure you're all aware, is an interesting case. He's been with us, as in the State Department, under some form of supervision for a very, very, very lengthy amount of time, dating back to the 70s. Most of his offenses involve armed robberies and escapes, the most serious of which, excuse me, turn that radio down. The most serious of which, Mr. Meisner had a very a good involvement with that riot and hostage taking situation that occurred in Fort Madison in the early 80s.
Right.
For which he received a lot of additional time, obviously rightfully so. The last time Mr. Meisner was in the community was in the late 2000s, and he's been back with us since 2010. Again, what brought him back to institutional incarceration was 2 additional robberies. One of them, a fill station, and then a couple, looks like a couple taverns. So I've known Tommy for a long time. I've been at this facility since 2008. So I've worked and been around Mr. Meisner for quite a while. As far as conduct goes, I believe right now, I believe he has 2 guilty hearing decisions that he has accrued since he's been with us this most recent time of incarceration. And both of them have to do with intoxication, being under the influence of some type of substance, whether it be homemade alcohol or narcotics of some kind. That will be a continuing issue no matter where Mr. Meisner is. And to be quite honest, if he's incarcerated, he's one of those individuals. He's obviously he's an old time educated convicted criminal. So he's going to get his hands on that kind of thing no matter where he is. The plan is, one more thing I want you to be aware of. During our last couple meetings, kind of one-on-ones, it was decided after review of his case that he did need to go through MRT while he was with us prior to any of us making any type of release recommendation. Initially, when that news was broke to him, he had a difficult time understanding it and felt that due to his time down and his experience in prison and his age,